Notice that we've promised you a talk from one Florian, but typical CC forum style, you're not going to get one, you're going to get two Florians, and their talk is a keynote on the tokenization of assets starting from the oldest commodity. But before they come on, there's a little known fact about one of them that I'm going to share with you that I'm sure none of you know, and that is that one of these Florians is responsible for making the movie Terminator. Now, by the end of their presentation, we're going to ask you, the audience, a question, see if you can guess which one it is. Please welcome Florian Krueger, and please welcome the two Florians to the stage to talk about the tokenization of assets from the oldest community. Give them a round of applause. And before you start, I would also say, remember that they are very strong supporters of the community, and pretty much if you've had a drink with us here, it is because they kindly supported us by giving us the drinks for the event, and you'll see why. Thank you very much.
Hey everybody, hello. Thanks a lot for having us here. What a great event that was already so far. Absolutely brilliant. So what we're going to talk today about is how we're going to go from there to there and back potentially. So to introduce briefly my friend Florian, who has started German Craft with his family, with his son, with his wife, a place in Mercato Metropolitano, which some of you may know. And at the very end, we're going to talk very briefly about it once again. So Florian has started a number of ventures in the past and is a driving force in what I admire most. A guy that has a lot of common sense and can figure out how to get stuff done quite easily and quickly, and lots of the logic that sits behind our company and the ideas that we present come actually from you.
Thank you very much, Florian. This is the other Florian Krueger. We are neighbors in Richmond since a long time, and that's how we met. And with Florian's background in IT and crypto, he was a perfect match to bring what we were envisioning to life. So I think I'll leave him the word to start this presentation.
Thank you very much. So this is a current picture. This is a picture that was in the BBC this morning. I don't know whether you saw it. It was about Hong Kong and people being tired, sick and tired of just the same thing, just the big brands, very little choices across the planet, and actually starting to stand up against it. People do want more choices. The millennials these days do want different products. They want, not necessarily that, but thanks to her and others like her, they want more of that. They want the local produce, they want something that is sustainable, they want something that's produced in their area. They like ideas that are circular, they like ideas that are long-lasting in value, sometimes a little contradiction to crypto in general, but I think we found a way how to actually achieve exactly that, because that's what people want. And when we look at the next steps and what we've actually done, we started with, Florian, you want to talk about that, or shall I?
No, you start.
All right. We looked at the existing funding mechanisms that are currently there to support local business, to support choice, to support diversity. And what you have currently is primarily banks. And on top of banks, you have investors. You typically have investors that want to exit after 3, 5, 10 years. But that doesn't necessarily solve the problem to create more diversity, to support SMEs better on site in the region, the local companies. So to support the SMEs better, we thought of the existing mechanisms that there are, and that is primarily crowdfunding 2.0. So the crowdfunding itself has an issue in itself as well, because it is somewhat limited and it requires an exit. But crowdfunding 2.0 based on the blockchain, based on Ethereum in our case, and the ERC20 token that we use to actually make this happen, has a whole range of additional possibilities and opportunities that I would happily talk to you about. So then with that, we went to this.
And now I want to take over. Thank you. Because this is about beer, and we love beer. We love beer locally, we love it fresh. And just to give you a little example of sustainability, We sell our beer right on site where we're brewing it, and that means that we're saving about 120 liters of water per liter of beer in water which usually would be used for packaging and is used for distributing a liter of beer. So this is what we believe is going to be the future. It's localization, it's freshness, it's healthiness, and we looked into the history, and when we looked at this, we found that before beer there was really nothing in terms of civilization. Beer created human mankind in a civilized way, because before beer humans were hunters and gatherers. Because of beer and because of the grains which were needed to brew the beer, we started agriculture. With agriculture came settlement, with settlement came culture, came civilization. People drank a lot of the stuff, they invented religions. It's really based on beer. Yeah? And beer was used since 10,000 years also as a currency. The pyramids, for example, were built on beer. The workers for the pyramids were paid in beer, they took it home for their families. So it was a stable value commodity since about 10,000 years. So we found this is the ideal currency or the ideal basis to create a currency in which you can trust. In beer we trust stable value since thousands of years, and that is something which is the underwritten or underlying value of our coin, the craft beer coin, which is underwritten by at least a pint of good fresh beer. So whenever you invest into our craft beer coin, you can never really lose your value, because the worst thing which will happen is you have to drink your investment. So we think that beer actually paved the way to civilization, and in the same way, the craft beer coin is the first proper crypto user case, which will actually drive the whole economy into the distributed level which we all want to achieve. So again, beer as the driving force behind change. Just a little example, this is a brewery which our son created in Elephant and Castle. You're all welcome to come probably later to see it. It's located in a mercato, and we have been completely surprised by the success of this venture. We had an original business plan which called for about 650,000 turnover on this site per year. We're doing this year more than 5 million, so about 10 times of what we originally expected. And this is due to the quality, it's due to the change of the millennials, which are expecting and wanting exactly these kind of products. The brewery is located in a very busy, very sustainable mercato metropolitano. We have more than 50 different food choices. We have the biggest beer garden in London with capacity of more than 1,000 people. We have a wonderful glass house where we have events. It's a really buzzy place happening, and in an area which needed economic growth, Elephant and Castle, and I think our venture and the whole market has really made Elephant Castle a new place and a very attractive destination. Our next venture is here very close by in Mayfair, in an old church. Again, we were asked to come to the church and to Mayfair in order to create a community center, to create something where people can come together and enjoy good food, good beer, and have a good sense of community. So the brewery itself is going to be in the crypt of the church, and we will be serving food and refreshments all over the place. One thing which is very interesting, we're very proud of, we have a lot of broken glasses in our beer garden because people are getting excited. What we're doing is we're actually melting these glasses, add a little bit of color, and created these beautiful tiles out of these glasses, which make up the bars in the altar room, in the keeping of a church environment, but also upcycling as something which we just love to do. This is our next thing which is coming up. We're going to have 2 locations on the Winter Wonderland. We're going to have 4 bars, potentially 200,000 people, which all can experience how to buy beer with cryptocurrency, with the craft beer coin. So this is the ability which we're having to drive the app and drive the usage of the app, because we have direct contact to the people. We have more than 3.5 million people coming to our market throughout the year, plus Winter Wonderland. Plus we have a number of other breweries around the world which are participating in our project. And we started from the top, so we took some of the best breweries in London, independent breweries in London, like Gypsy Hill, Mondo, and Ansbach and Hopday. but we also have breweries in Germany and in China and in Hungary which are participating. So the breweries are really our marketing force to drive the adoption of the coin. People come to the brewery, buy the beer through the coin, fill up their wallets again, and all of a sudden become users of cryptocurrency without really realizing it. And that is, I think, key to proper adoption in the crypto world, that people see a real value in it, but they don't have to understand what's all behind it. All they need to know is, hey, I have a proper utility token, which, by the way, because the proceeds of the token are being used to invest into brewing equipment, also give you a security element to the token, because all of a sudden, all the beer lovers become shareholders in the breweries. So we're really turning the economic cycle on its head, whereby we're giving the beer lovers the power and the ownership of the breweries. So again, something which can be done through cryptocurrency, which otherwise would have been impossible to achieve.
Yep, that's the beer side of things. That's working really well. And in case you're wondering why we're running around with this everywhere, some of you may know Il Professor and the Resistencia against the big ones. So this is the reason why we chose this and why we run around with Il Professor everywhere. It's about resistance against the big brands. Now we have other projects in the pipeline. The craft beer coin is an obvious one because, let's face it, everybody loves beer, right? But the next ones are the other ones that also have issues around financing and funding the growth, especially when it's capex intensive, such as, for example, with vineyards, but the same thing goes for forestry, for example, which is a very tricky business if you're not able to liquidate some of the capital that's actually in the trees, so to speak, or others like garment producers, etc. So I think what we want to do right now is we want to balance the really nice deal flow that we have on the one side with the breweries, with the huge interest that we get from various industries, with a crowdfunding 2.0 approach where everybody chips in a little bit to actually ensure that they have the choices in the future and their kids have the choices in the future to create and to actually procure sustainable local products that have been produced as circular as possible. That's what we're after. These are the guys that we're intending to fund more and more, as we're already doing, and to continue on that path. So we're doing this today, as you know, and many of you know, we have the app. You can buy these things through the app already. We are listed. There's a range of opportunities in how you can get engaged with us. So please take us up on it. And if you have the time after the event, we very much welcome you at one of our places at the Mercato Metropolitano in Elephant and Castle, where you're welcome to share a beer with us and chat and have a few more questions. Before we go, any other questions that anyone has?
You think something whiskey?
We were thinking of whiskey. Yes, absolutely. We love whiskey. And it's a prime example because it is one of these examples where you have locked away assets for quite a long time which you can't capitalize on. It's incredibly difficult to create and to start a new little whiskey distillery. Yeah.
But we're also doing gin, by the way. Yeah. But again, please, the proof is in the pudding or in the drinking. Yeah. Please come by, check out the quality of our products, check out the community which we're having in Elephant and Castle. You will be blown away, I promise.
Yes, you will come back. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great day.